My name is Ashari. Before attending Duke Law, I graduated from Georgia State University. I wasn't a very traditional undergraduate student. I worked throughout undergrad, so I worked as a legal assistant for a number of firms, including a medical malpractice firm and a workers' compensation firm. And I realized my desire to go to law school from my experience with the medical malpractice firm, and upon, speaking with other attorneys and reading amazing books, I kind of realized that I wanted to make a difference. I knew that, but I transferred that over and to understand that I could do that through law. A lot of the experience I had in undergrad was work experience, but I also was part of the undergraduate newspaper, The Signal. I also was part of a lot of communal organizations, so Softer Touch, which is where we come together and help the community around us, involved with the local food bank, things of that nature. So I do a good amount of volunteer work. As a law student, I did a lot of pro bono work as well with organizations such as the Innocence Project, doing expunsion work where I would help clients record clear their history. I also did tenant and landlord pro bono assistance where I would provide advice to tenants who are having some type of landlord issues. I've also been involved in a number of organizations while in law school, which includes the Black Law Student Association, where I was the treasurer or the chief financial officer, where essentially just pretty much told people yes or told people no when it came to funding and the events that we would do. Part of the First Class organization, where I was an academic advisor, and also a mentor for a number of organizations where I would communicate with 1Ls and mentor them throughout the law school process. I've also done informal mentorships and have been a scholarship recipient as well at Duke Law. For the future, I plan on working in a corporate law firm here in Atlanta, Georgia. Part of that means that I will be with the white collar group or the special investigations group, where I will assist in all types of special matters and doing types of investigations for our clients. Moving forward, I do plan on potentially working for the U.S. Attorney's Office this upcoming spring. The key to success is time management and balance. I think that it's very easy to get too overwhelmed with the work. It's a lot of work. Law school is difficult. But the best way to handle it is to not let it overwhelm you, and that's honestly easier said than done. There is a balance that takes place that you can still be successful and still balance your own well-being, and that's something that I learned while in law school. I think what sets me apart when it comes to law school consulting is mainly my background. My background is pretty different. It's not the typical, straight out of undergrad, go to law school. And I just think that makes me unique. Being a first gen, not really knowing the process of anything and kind of coming to it raw is what makes you unique. And I think I approach all of that with consulting. I approach it with my experiences, and I help guide my experiences in guiding a client. The client's story is not my story, but I feel like what has contributed to my story can help shed some insight into how they can illustrate their story. And I think that's what's really important. I think people get lost in really wanting to be somewhere or really wanting something, and they get lost in how to tell their story. And that's what's important. So what these law schools look for is, how do you tell your story? And that's law schools, jobs, anything. They want to know how you tell your story. And I think because my story is kind of all over the place, it makes me more equipped to be able to handle a different variety of individuals. I would say my greatest strengths as a consultant is most likely my proactiveness. I feel like as a coach, I kind of make sure you're good in a way. I always want to be proactive and understand my client's process. And even if they're not a client, that's just how I am as a person. I don't tend to not give information where I feel like it's needed and then just never come back again. I just tend to want to be able to be a resource to people. And as a result, I'm very proactive with people. I try to let them know that I have resources to give rather than covet them, because I feel like a lot of the times you will see that in any field. You'll have people covet resources when in reality they should be dishing them out. And so that's, I feel like, a big strength of mine. Another strength I feel is that I think I do a pretty good job of listening. And this is a video of me talking the whole time, but me personally, I think it speaks a lot when you listen to someone and you're able to help guide them in how they should create their narrative based off of what you've heard. I think people sometimes, when you talk to them, they automatically go into problem solving mode. So as a result, they don't really listen to everything that you're saying. No fault on them, they're just trying to help you. But I think the benefit in really just sitting down and listening to what someone has to say moves volumes, because you'll remember little things that help create the narrative that you may not have really heard before because you weren't 100% listening. The biggest passion as to why I feel like resources should be dished out rather than coveted is because I went through the process having to scourge the earth for resources, and I don't think that's fair. I think when you're able to get the help that you need, you should be able to get all the resources that come with that. And whether that's you soliciting it or you just existing and someone comes along, I think both ways, this is supposed to be a field that's demystified, not a field that no one knows how to navigate. And I think being a consultant or just being anybody, a mentor, I think it's very important for people to understand the resources that they do have, even if they didn't know they had them. And that's why I've become so passionate about helping people and being the resource that I am.